All right. Welcome. Hello. My name is Martha Alter Hines, and I am here again with this beautiful circle of women, of beings who are here um, as a soul wisdom circle in conjunction with all of you. So I am going to be handing over this particular circle to Heather Ensworth today, but I just want to say hello. I want to welcome you all into this conversation, and to give you a sense, if you haven't seen our previous Soul Wisdom circles, go back and watch those. I think that today might be our fifth, something along those lines. And the purpose of these circles really is about inviting us all as a collective to come into our own hearts, into the reality that we each are the wisdom of existence. We are the wisdom of infinity, and we are all needed. So as we're holding these wisdom circles, what we are really attempting to do is, again, invite each of us, invite each of you to come grounded into our own hearts, our own remembering, our own way of being the precise gift that the world is needing in this time of great remembering, and to really demonstrate that we're all in this together, and there's no one guru who has all the answers. It's all of us here as a collective, as a circle, and that includes all of you. So today, our theme, which Heather is going to elaborate on, is really about choices and really about this choice moment that we are all in, always, but especially in this time right now. So today, again, we have, just to name who's here, is Julia Balaz, Maura McBratney, Melanie Reinhart, Kelly Hunter, Heather Ensworth, Anne Baring, Don Brunke, and myself. And with that, Heather, go for it.
Thank you, Martha. And again, it's such an honor to be in this sacred circle. So thank you all. And it's also an honor to be in the larger circle of all of you listening, all of you who are a part of this sacred community. Before we begin, let's open with a meditation to call us into sacred space. And as I did in our first Soul Wisdom Circle, I'm going to use the medicine wheel to guide us into sacred space. This is a part of my practice. I think it's profound in that it's a ceremonial meditation practice that's at the root of almost all spiritual traditions. And it's a beautiful way of remembering our interconnectedness with all that is, and a beautiful path to come back to center. And I think in the turbulence of these times, we all need ways to come back to center. So let's honor the medicine wheel and move into sacred space together. So let's close our eyes and just breathe out deeply, releasing whatever you need to release to be fully present in this moment. And allow yourself to continue breathing in slowly and deeply, feeling your feet connecting to the earth, grounding you, supporting you. And now together we'll honor the directions of the medicine wheel, beginning in the south. We honor the energy of south and of alignment. As we step into this medicine wheel and into the south, we honor our alignment with our soul selves. And remember that we are having this human experience, but we are souls who are a part of infinity. And as we stand in the south, we also honor the energies in the sky of Aquarius, the water bearer pouring the living waters of love and wisdom to us from the cosmos, helping us come back into alignment. We give thanks for these energies. And now continue clockwise around the medicine wheel, coming to the west. And here we honor the energies of relationship and transformation. Here we come into right relationship with ourselves, with each other, with all of life. And we honor the energies of the stars of Scorpius, the sign of Scorpio, guiding us to dive deep into our own process of transformation, to burn away what no longer serves us, to emerge in the true goal of who we are. We give thanks for these energies and continue now around the wheel to the north. Here we honor the energy of consciousness, that light of consciousness that can guide us to see those aspects of ourselves that have been hidden in the shadows, to bring them into the light of awareness, for us to heal and awaken and transform. And we honor the stars of Leo, the lion, helping us to live from our hearts with courage. We give thanks for these energies and now continue to the east. Here we honor the energy of healing and sacred embodiment. We honor the stars of Taurus, helping us to be grounded, helping us to remember and honor the sacredness of our embodiment, the sacredness of all of life, and to remember our interconnectedness with all that is. We give thanks for these energies and then complete the wheel by coming to the south and then stepping into the center. Here we honor our connection to the earth and sky and that center within us, our heart chakras. As we stand in the center, we allow our energy to dive deep into the earth, all the way to the core of the earth. We feel our deep connection with Gaia. We allow our hearts to attune to the heartbeat of our Mother Earth. And now we extend our energy up to the sky, to the galactic center that is now flaring energy to us to support us in healing and transforming and coming into higher consciousness. We draw that energy into us and allow the energies of the earth and sky to meet at our hearts. We feel our heart connections with each other, with this sacred community. We hold that healing energy of our hearts to connect together to create this healing grid around the earth. And we honor that we are now in sacred space together. Blessed be. Again, welcome to all of you and blessings to this sacred circle. Our theme today, as Martha said, and maybe I'll open us by talking a little bit about this theme, and then we'll each share our thoughts and reflections. But the theme for today is about this incredibly profound time that we're in. And this month in particular is so profound astrologically and energetically. Part of what we're experiencing this month is that we are not only on the cusp of moving into a new age, the Age of Aquarius, we are at the ending of a 24,000 year precessional cycle, which is also known as the Hindu Yuga cycle. And that's a cycle that we go through as humanity of ascending and descending consciousness. And the last 6,000 years we've been in as humanity is known in the Hindu Yuga cycle as the time of the Kali Yuga, the time of forgetting, the time where we move into a lower level of consciousness and get caught in paradigms of separation, power over, division. We see that playing out around the world right now. But we are coming to the end of the Kali Yuga at the end of this month. We are being called into ascending consciousness. We are being called more fully into the Age of Aquarius, which is a time of love, community, collaboration, co-creation of a new world together, coming from our hearts with love. But in the midst of this time of change, we're seeing some of the shadow aspects of humanity playing out in their most intense way, with war, violence, power over, greed, ego. And this is a time where we each, individually and collectively, are at a karmic choice point. And we can choose to live out these higher aspects of the Aquarian age and this ascending consciousness that we're being called into, or we can get caught in these patterns from the past, or caught in fear and caught in staying in those out of balance paradigms. And we, as a wisdom circle and in this larger community, want to support each other in moving into love, moving into higher consciousness, moving into unity consciousness. And the energies this month, astrologically, are so supporting us in doing that. We're experiencing this profound lunar eclipse that will happen later tonight, which is such a wake-up call. And it's calling us back into love, into unity consciousness. And we're also experiencing Venus moving into her underworld journey to go through her transformation, to emerge as a morning star in the sign of Pisces, saying we too can go through our transformation and to emerge with the energy of love and higher consciousness. So this is such a profound time that we're in. And we each want to share some of our insight, our wisdom about how we can move into the highest expressions of the Aquarian age and support each other in moving into ascending consciousness. So, Martha, why don't you start us off here?
Sure. Well, what I was feeling super strongly, powerfully as you're speaking is Gaia is wanting to speak. So I'm going to just let her speak for a second. But I also wanted to say that uh, if people aren't aware, I am currently this month holding or co-facilitating a summit, free summit called Becoming Superconductors of Love, because all of what Heather just said is the reason that I'm holding that exact summit. And the link is here if anybody hasn't already joined and wants to join. It's entirely free and all about this. So yes, but one of the biggest energies that has been coming through for me in the last several months, especially strongly since I would say November, is Gaia herself feeling to me coming through as very angry in a way and very adamant that we need to come back to her and the reality of her and her rhythms. So I feel like she's wanting to speak, so I'm just gonna like do a very, very brief letting her come through. right now. 'Cause, yeah. Yes. Okay. So welcome. Thank you. And I am speaking as a vibration and an emanation of Gaia, of the earth. And I want to convey two main brief messages right now. One is a reminder that I am you. You are me. And I want to help to support you to feel that, to feel the vibration of it, to feel the reality of it, to come back into feeling, in a sense, clicked in, locked into this reality that you are me, you are Gaia. And so one of the greatest keys to this time of great remembering, as Heather's mentioning, is the reality that I need you to come back to the rhythm of myself, of Gaia, of the earth. I need you to come back now, because one of the greatest components of the time of the great forgetting is getting out of lockstep with me, getting out of the rhythm of the reality that all of life here is life itself. So it's a very visceral request, actually. It's to come back into the slow, long, deep breath of your own body, of your own respiratory system, your own cardiovascular system, the rhythm of your own heart beating in time with me, and the rhythm of yourself, even if you think of waves of an ocean and you think of the rhythms of the animals and the plants of this planet. There are many, many ways to come back into this rhythm and this reality of yourself as me. And so I'll leave that request there, but it's an adamant request. Please do what you can. And there are many resources available, even among the people here in this circle and elsewhere, to help come back into this rhythm of me. And then the second reminder and message that I want to convey today is, as you've been in this time of great forgetting, it is like Jude Curran often mentions as having been in a nightmare. So as you're now waking up, it is understandable that you are perhaps feeling scared or discombobulated or shaken, just like you might be if you're a child waking up from a nightmare. So it's okay if you're feeling scared. And at the same time, I want you to help you to remember that you are held infinitely by me and by infinite benevolent beings holding you and holding the planet in this time. And you are one of those beings here to hold the planet as it is waking up from this time of great forgetting. So I just want to support you to feel that deeply, to remember that deeply. And I want to say thank you. And I love you infinitely. You are me, and I am you. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Gaia. Anne, can you share with us?
Yes, well, I certainly feel that we are in the midst of a huge turbulence, like a sort of hurricane in the world. And in writing, luckily, I am writing the book and am absorbed in that. And I really am not paying any attention to what's happening in the world. I just let it be, because to get involved with it is to get upset and angry and worried and frightened even, because one looks as if it's in a sort of like a whirlwind. It's got one in a, what do you call it? That typhoon, not the typhoon, but the thing that goes corkscrews down to the ground.
Tornado.
A tornado, it feels like that. So it's best to stay outside the tornado. You can observe it if you want, but not get caught up in it. And so that's what I'm doing. I've got very difficult family situation with a daughter in hospital having a knee straightened, and a husband who is hovering between two worlds, but is still with us, so to speak, and a carer who leaves on Monday and a new one comes who I've never met. So it's all, again, the tornadoes, sort of all this energy is circling around. So I just have to let go, and I focus on my work. I focus on memories that I've had. There's a fantastic exhibition in London at the moment at the National Gallery, which was in New York, I think, of Sienese painting. And I would urge all of you, if you can, to see the pictures of it. I'm sure they're accessible on the internet. But in the 14th century, the early 14th century, there was a most extraordinary group of men and women who were living in Siena. And they were painting angels, nothing but angels and Madonnas with children. And all of the paintings are absolutely exquisite. They're unbelievably beautiful. It's as if the angelic world was really pouring itself into the hands of these artists and really inspiring them to create the most unimaginably beautiful scenes, all to do with mother and child, Virgin Mary and Jesus, and with angels of Annunciation, exquisite angels with wonderful wings, all gold. And I just can't really convey how beautiful these images are. And just looking at them, my husband ordered the book from the exhibition, and we've been looking at them, and it's brought back memories of when I visited Siena with him, maybe in the early days of our marriage, way back in 1960s, and how we were absolutely bowled over by those wonderful paintings, which you could see on the walls of the great halls of, what do you call it, the great hall that people met in and everything. Anyway, it's been such a lovely recall of an exquisite time when people lived in a very small and very thriving community. They were obviously happy and they were well off, because a lot of people flowed through Siena on their way to Rome, bringing with them treasures of every kind. So they were in a happy place, and the artists were just flowing with this life force that was coming through them and creating these unbelievably beautiful images, which we have nothing like to compare with them, nothing. Well, certainly not today, but even since then, since that early period, there hasn't been anything to approach the beauty that they were able to convey. So I think beauty, to return to the theme of today, is so important as nourishment for the soul. And we miss that in our culture because there's very little emphasis on beauty. It's all on conflict, struggle, pride, ego, power struggles. There's no time or space for beauty to come in. So I think all of us, if we can make time just to contemplate any image of beauty that you have, and that is to the wider audience that's listening, even the contemplation of the exquisite beauty of a flower. Just now, daffodils are coming into bloom in this country, and soon there will be roses in a couple of months. So that is connecting with nature, which is awakening all around us, and the life is burgeoning forth in this new time of the year, so to speak, a spring coming. And as Heather has said, the end of Kali Yuga, which could bring hope for a different kind of future on this planet. So I think that's all I need to say, but I'll send my love to all of you and to everybody listening, and to say to people, have trust in yourself and in what is happening. It is a dangerous moment and a difficult moment, but it is an opening to a new era.
Thank you, Anne. Beautiful. Thank you. Dawn.
Thank you. I love that, Anne. I so resonate with what you're saying about where we put our focus, huh? Where we put our focus. So I was thinking of some of the key themes of this age, expanding consciousness, opening ourselves to more expansive frequencies, moving past kind of our own self-imposed limitations, and stretching ourselves in ways we might not have believed possible, which for me has been key. When my husband died in September of last year, I began such a deep journey into grief and loss, but also, curiously, into expansion. And for me, it was unexpected. And now kind of in retrospect, I think, well, you talk to animals, why can't you talk to people in spirit world? And I did. I began talking with Bob, my dead husband, who said he was not really dead, but alive and well in spirit world. And I think it's perhaps because I was listening and I was so curious, asking questions, that he began to tell me much of what was happening with him. He described the afterlife as he experienced it. And he was really quick to tell me that this was his afterlife and that every afterlife was a bit different, depended on many things, including the beliefs we held on Earth.
Mm.
He shared so many intriguing events, one of which was meeting his younger age selves and working with them to clear their old holds and traumas. And he spoke of a lightening process through this, of better understanding why he did what he did on Earth, and having such deep appreciation and love for all of those selves and for all of those experiences, even maybe especially the ones that were really difficult. He met with friends and family and guides. He conversed with those he didn't know, but who shared experiences of their afterlife and death. He immersed himself in a lot of different, very creative scenarios. And through all these stories, I realized, oh, he's observing things about his former physical life in very non-judgmental ways, in a manner that I'll tell you, he was not able to do while he was alive, but he was doing it now. And over time, he began to speak very differently, somehow deeper, wiser. He was sharing ideas that I don't think he ever would have thought of describing or discussing in life. And I realized, wow, he's evolving. And through this process, I noticed I was evolving too. I talked with him every morning. I would record our conversations on my laptop. And when I was with him, my energy was just so happy, so open and alive, right? On the one hand, he was so present to me. But then on the other hand, he wasn't here physically. And on my own, I was moving through a lot of emotions, difficult emotions, loss, sadness, emptiness, a sense of hollowness, I was doing it, actually moving through those fairly quickly, but deeply. I really wanted to sit with those emotions. I wanted to feel them intensely. I wanted to get to know them. And I was stretching myself, both when I was talking with him and when I wasn't. And I started to become a different person. We both felt our conversations had put us on a fast track. We were becoming familiar with moving between realms, meeting each other in this in-between space, this this kind of liminal space of dreams and inner visions, of the intersection, really, of the physical and the spirit worlds. And together we were exploring, for both of us, uncharted territory, opening doorways to new perspectives, new ways of being, really. So I'd like to give you a little taste of this, of our conversation. This was from one morning in early January when I was commenting to him that my outlook on life had shifted so much and that I was feeling clearer and lighter. And he says, mine as well, because in so many ways we are doing this together, helping each other. And so it is faster for us, easier for us, because we are doing this together. Some guides I met with noted that for physical beings, grief is often one-sided. And many people feel very much alone, isolated and cut off, as if they have been severely separated from life in some major way, with their partner or child or loved one gone. And so it is a big struggle to move through that, to feeling that disengaged from life, to losing so much energy and vitality and joy. On the spirit side, there's a similar feeling of loss, though not as emotional, for here there's the added benefit of clarity and support. But still, some spirit beings suffer to see their loved ones suffering in the physical. What we are doing, and what others have done, and more still will do, is reminding everyone of both sides that separation is not the only way, that relationships need not end with the death of the physical, that there is a way to continue, to heal and support and love each other through this in-between meeting place. That is what we have been focusing on all this time, finding our way in the in-between, on the bridge of connection. Both of us growing and expanding and evolving, helping each other by sharing our experiences with each other, and also by sharing experience together. That is what is possible. So easy if you just open yourself to that possibility. And so for me, in our discussion, that's really what's key for me right now. And I'd like to emphasize about where we're headed is, if I have to give a title, it's opening to possibility, right? It's allowing ourselves to imagine what is possible and maybe trying that on for a while, stretching ourselves, going beyond ourselves, opening ourselves to a much more expansive and inclusive way of being, inviting possibility into our life and into our afterlife. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. That's profound. Thank you. Kelley.
I'm still with the flowers and angels. They're, they're certainly resonating. I want to share an experience I had early in this year when I was on the North Shore of Kauai, which heads out up to Alaska. And there was a strong surge in the water. I was sitting on the beach a little bit, at least every day, but there was a very strong surge way out. You could see the waves coming in like foamy waves way out there. And they'd come in and the roar of the waves, had a strong voice. And so the waves would come in and every day I would watch the waves. There wasn't much swimming, but there was a seal on the beach. And there it was toward the end of the road, and there was just this lovely peaked mountain landscape. It was almost a different otherworldly place. And it was the last couple of days I was there, and it often rained just a little bit mistily. And I was listening to these waves coming in, the roar of the waves, and watching those waves come in and then come crashing onto the shore, these strong waves. And then they would go out and with still a lot of that incoming strength. And they would go out, and there would be another wave coming in, and the outgoing wave would go over that. But when they met, the incoming wave and the outcoming wave, there was like this, this foamy like ribbon that would go across the wave meetings. And then the outgoing wave would keep going. And it would meet another incoming wave, and there would be another one of those foamy ribbons that you could hear and that you could see. And then, the outgoing wave would finally lose its strength and would sort of disappear, but the incoming waves, were coming in. And then they would turn around and go out. And just watching these waves. And I also noticed, and this was the very last day, it might have been where the sun was, but as the incoming wave was making its last curl over to land, somewhere in there, there was like a translucent flash of turquoise. And I'd never seen that before. So the incoming wave, and I was trying to catch it like right when it curled over, there was just this turquoise light. And I really got caught by that. And I was watching that because that to me was like a guiding moment. Like, when does that happen for each wave? And so it was meaningful to me. But the whole experience just reverberated so strongly. Both the strong voice of the waves and the power of the incoming waves and the outgoing waves, and how the outgoing waves still had a lot of strength, but the incoming waves kept coming over and land on the beach. And I think that's where we're at. We're on the beach, and we can even either be pulled into the undertow of that outgoing wave that's still pretty strong, or we can be kind of riding on the incoming wave and that flash of turquoise, be like a kind of guide. And I do feel like we're just, and the surge is as strong as we're feeling the energies right now. Very strong energies incoming, but the equally, not quite equally, but the still strong outgoing waves that are very compelling. Nobody was surfing those few days. You know, the waves were too much to ride, and even the seal was not going in the water to go hunting for food for a few days there because that surge was so strong. So there was a kind of, I don't want to call it a pause moment because it was way too vibrant and well, I don't want to say noisy either, but that strong voice or song of the deep, deep ocean coming in. So I feel like that was such a beautiful experience. That was my key experience of the whole visit was that experience with the waves and that turquoise flash, which I'd never ever seen before. And I just want to share too that the last time I was at this place in the world was the only other time I was in Hawaii, and that was in 1973. And I was revisiting the place I used to stay back then, which was, like a little over 50 years ago. So that also had a reverberation in me that I can't quite totally grasp, except that astrologically, a 50-year cycle is when Chiron comes back around, which is the teacher healer. And I picked a card from this beautiful deck I'm using these days called Black Moon Astrology Cards. And I picked this card for this full moon that we're having tonight. This is the 13th one we're recording. And I got the Chiron card. And it made me understand something about Chiron being in Aries now, which is the incoming wave sign. We have a lot of waves going out with the Pisces energy, but a lot of waves coming in on the new Aries energy, which is the fresh start, the new beginning of the zodiac, the fire of inspiration. What is lighting you up from the inside out? And it comes from our hearts. What is lighting up your heart? And it's going to be new, and it's going to be fresh, and it's going to be somewhat different. And it holds some kind of healing energy that allows us to let the waters just flow under the bridge with compassion and forgiveness and that sense of that's who we were then, that's what was going on then. But let's let those waves go out and ride in that new wave of the freshness and the Chiron, which wants to align spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically so that we're embodying the wholeness of who we are and being true and in Aries integrity, being centered in who we are in the deepest way that we can experience and embody, which is celestial, which is soul-filled, which is embodied in a very deep way with Gaia. And to be so present that we're allowing whatever is arising in that moment, whatever is flashing fresh and inspirational in that moment can be where we're at, can be who we are, what we are doing, what impulse we follow, rather than shrinking in old stuff and automatic patterns and safe modalities. Let those pass out because we want to catch that new wave that is opening, in the doors of these eclipses this month and onward. This is an extraordinary time. And it's a new time, it's a fresh time, as if we've never been here before. And we probably have not. So each moment is arising afresh. And as much as we can be in that arising moment, let's catch that turquoise light.
Mhm.
So that's what I wanted to share. That's been my guiding experience of this year.
Thank you. Beautiful, Kelley. Thank you. Thank you. Maura.
Unmute myself. Wow, such rich sharing. Unbelievable. I resonate with parts of what everyone's saying. And yeah, beauty. And I've always felt that like we're able to make that a primary value, that life would change dramatically everywhere in our world, in our own world, and the earth itself. And she provides so much of that, as you've talking to Martha about with Gaia. She is the ultimate beauty around us and in us and through us. So it's for me, it's exciting that we're at this point with the Kali Yuga cycle ending and coming into something that's new. It's been such a long time watching things unfold and seeing which way things were going to go. And right now, it looks dire in some ways, and at the same time, holding center, and making the decision in each moment whether it's going to be I'm going to love instead of fear, or have compassion instead of anger, or and so that's how I've been living it. Is okay, this is coming in. Yeah, I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like what I'm reading. However, I'm going to be neutral about that. It's not about me going with what's being shown us in the world, because it has to come apart to a certain extent so something new can come forward. And so it's a binary decision in some way. Yes, towards life. Yes, towards love. Instead of saying no, I can't go there. And I think that's probably, I'm in a place of quiet right now. I would say not really out there, um, and that feels okay to me. I feel like there's a place of just going moment to moment to moment to see what's next and embracing it as it comes through, um, and making that decision, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Being in my center, being in my heart. Heart center is essential in all of this. Um, so I'm grateful for all the years I've been taught that and embraced it, because it's, for me, the heart is what's going to get us through almost all of this at this point. So I think that's it. I don't really have anything that profound, but just yes, just yes.
Thank you, Maura. Yes to life. Julia.
Thank you. Oh, what a gift to be here with you all. Kelley, I believe that turquoise that you mentioned, the glimpse that you got, to me, turquoise coming through the water glimpse is a manifestation of frequency of the higher heart chakra, right? It's the love meeting the wisdom that wants to express itself. I always thought that there's a higher heart chakra that is connected to our soul heart, and I always thought it's turquoise. So that perhaps it was like a wink from ocean showing you its love, you know, because you were paying attention. And I think that's the key when we are in this utter reverence with life. It knows that we are paying attention. It immediately becomes playful and it responds. And it's magical to live in that frequency. So what I'm really grateful about is witnessing our collective growing our capacity for consciously experiencing greater and greater interconnectedness of all life. And for some people, like mentioned here today, it is through becoming more in tune with Mother Nature, really feeling her, seeing her, sensing her, responding to her calls. For others, it's becoming more in tune with animals, what they perceive, what they feel like. We are becoming much more compassionate with their experience and really realizing how wise and conscious and aware they are. And so much more in tune with cycles of life and nature herself. We really can learn so much from them. For others, it's connecting with our loved ones on the other side and how good we are becoming at hearing and feeling and sensing that connection that doesn't cease with the transition to the non-physical. And for some, it is becoming more in tune with feeling, sensing the celestial bodies talking to us, guiding us. And for me personally, when I entered this year, I was set on diving deeper into Asteroid Atlantis because I see so much evidence how it guides us to remember our past lives or future lives, parallel lives, connections to that ancient era. So many of us are walking this earth that have profound connection to the Atlantean era in all its forms. And in the last week or two, I was ready to write more on Atlantis, but I couldn't. It was all about Lemuria. For the first time, Lemuria was coming in so strongly for me. And as I was preparing for this call just 2 days ago, within the last 48 hours, so I actually looked at the transits of asteroid Hawaii, which I strongly believe is connected to the era of the ancient Lemuria, because anyone I've met who has strong embodied wisdom that deeply connects to the ancient Lemurian era, if I look at their chart, to no surprise, the asteroid Hawaii would be prominent, very close to a planet, usually personal planet, or sitting on their midheaven or ninth house, where their teachings of Lemurian wisdom is coming through. So today and during the lunar eclipse, surprise, surprise, asteroid Hawaii is exact conjunct Mars in Cancer. So how this manifests on the collective level is that it really awakens our almost like primal need to protect what is sacred, just like Martha was timely channeling what Mother Earth is calling us to do. And I feel that ancient Lemurian ways through this asteroid Hawaii that is being accompanied by Mars during this very particular transformational time that we are going through, we are called to remember the ancient ways when we were in greater harmony with nature, when we felt and heard and seen waters, the sacred waters that are everywhere, inside us, outside, in the air, in the ocean. You know, we're really called to connect deeply to that. So thank you so much, Kelley, for showing us an example of what that might be like. It can be truly a profound experience when we connect deeper with the wisdom of the water. So for the entire month of March, until the end of March, asteroid Hawaii will be accompanied with Mars. So I want to ask the audience, take time to reflect on what is coming, what is being stirred in you in terms of remembering your ancient memories to times when you were embodying a way of life that is in harmony with nature, with Mother Earth and the entire cosmos. And because Mars is here in Cancer, we are called to have courage to embody it and protect it and guard it and speak about it. We've practiced for so many lifetimes learning all this sacred wisdom, and we even practiced being in experience of fear, we even lost lives, but not this time around. We are here in time when we will be protected and nurtured and cared for by the evolutionary laws, as long as we are aligning with that path of harmony and greater connectivity and evolution into that higher potential that we are holding as galactic humans. I wholeheartedly believe that we will be guided through all this turmoil. So just witnessing and coming back to the center, connecting with nature. And I would also like to invite the viewers to notice the difference between what it feels like when we are in prayer for manifesting physical abundance, say riches, success, this and that, kind of the personal, almost like ego-centered desires. When we're praying for that, what that feels like, how much energy is in that, versus when we pray for Mother Earth's well-being, for that greater connectivity. Suddenly, it's like it's exponential growth energetically, right? You want to almost dance with that prayer, with that wish. It's such an amazing experience. And I think that a huge amount of energy that's coming through is like a direct sign that yes, we right now that's what we are meant to pray for Earth. We really are here for her and collectively holding space for her. So Arta, you expressed it so beautifully, that channeling from her to just really return to her, and everything else will fall into place. So once again, till the end of March, Hawaii conjunct Mars and square Chiron. We are literally heading into that over the next few days. From as we release this recording, it'll become even more tightly aligned. So, if anyone had experiences or past life memories of great loss and grieving for what we lost collectively, that deep cycle of falling into forgetting, it's really time for us to release that deep grief and sadness and find a way to embody and protect those beautiful ancient ways. And can we find a way to harmonize or bring the best out of both eras, Lemurian and Atlantean era too? Can we somehow, is that perhaps our purpose here now, to bridge everything, right? The past and future and love and wisdom, and just finding a way of somehow harmonize it all and finding a way to live in harmony with all these possibilities and potentials. And then in April, asteroid Hawaii will continue moving through Cancer. And just at the beginning of April, it'll be sextile Uranus and trine Saturn. And at some point, trine collective lunar node and sextile collective south node. So I really feel this Lemurian theme of connecting with the waters, connecting with the ancient ways, and not just talking about it, but really embodying it in our everyday choices will be very, very potent for all of us. So I'm so glad that we can consciously realize these things, and how beautiful to receive this wink from universe telling us, yes, you're paying attention in the right direction. It's beautifully aligned. We are so supported. There is order in this seeming chaos. And it just needs to play itself out, as you said, Kelley, with those waves. Just needed to play out.
Julia, I need to say that it's very likely that Hawaii was conjunct my moon when I was there.
I bet. Can't wait for you to find out. Beautiful. Thank you all.
Thank you, Julia. Beautiful. Thank you. Melanie.
Well, hello, everybody out there watching us, watching you. It's been occurring to me really strongly in the last week or so that you know, we're bearing witness to the most incredible upheavals on the earth, sociopolitically, but also in the earth, of the earth. So there's like a kind of upheaval and uproar on every level, and that goes into the structure and infrastructure of the society that we live in. And I'm sure probably all of us have possibly amusing, but also very annoying sometimes, anecdotes about how stuff isn't working in terms of bureaucracies and official things that you have to do. It can be a massive effort. But it's, to me, so clear that that's like an echo of something that's also happening within us. In other words, the established patterns of our own behavior that our ego structures are actually built on. So the very internal structures that define, to some extent, how our life goes, they're kind of interchangeable with what goes on, quote unquote, out there in society. And so what a phenomenal opportunity we have here. It's like our cages are all being rattled. You know, even for those of us who work really hard to stay centered and all of that, we can't help being affected by the uproar and the upheaval, because that is what's supposed to be happening. And that ripples right through to the core of our being. So certainly in my own experience, if I can refrain from judging what's happening, that it's bad, because basically I don't like it, don't want it, I'm not in control, etc. And it's easy to lapse into that. It's also easy to get afraid and so forth. But if we can refrain from doing the above and almost like feel the waves, and I'm thinking of Kelley's experience with the actual waves, there are these gigantic waves of energy that are causing things to crash about on all sorts of levels, and you only have to turn on your radio or television. God, there's all the metalogs of this process all over the world. But the same kind of rock and roll is happening inside us. And so to be very gentle and tender with ourselves as far as we can, and just with the help from the invisible beings. And here I do think of Shariklo's energy, to kind of hold, not to kind of hold like, you know, stop that thrashing around, will you? Not that kind of hold, but to kind of be a holding context for all of this thrashing around, you know. And then the most extraordinary transformations occur. This is not wishful thinking. I am seeing this happening, and I love it that you're all nodding away there. You're seeing it too. So I am not making this up. It really is happening. And one of the things that I am noticing, you know, along the lines of remembering the deep past, perhaps as deep as our connection with civilizations that have long gone, you know, but on a much more banal level, this has been happening to me, and I'm talking to enough people to whom it's also happening, so I know it's not just me, kind of thing. But it's as if in all this rocking and rolling and shaking that's going on within the soul, all kinds of memories are being disgorged. And this is not only trauma memories or things that we've been trying to control and push away that come bursting upon us. Yeah, that can happen sometimes in the course of a healing process. But what can also happen is what I would perhaps term a spontaneous soul retrieval kind of process, whereby things that we long left behind just because, you know, we grow through time, we evolve, we get older, we change countries and things happen, you know, all of this. So along the way, there can be things that kind of got jettisoned, not necessarily with any malintent or trauma attached to them, but just that that's how life went, you know. And so there can be these tender little experiences, sometimes through dreams, which bring back to you some of the things that have been jettisoned just in the general, not just bump and grind of life, but the kind of rush and roar of it all, you know. And so I would want to say, keep on the lookout for those kinds of things, because they may come back to you, and this could get even really literal. And this has happened in my life, re-meeting with some marvelous women who I was at school with, right? So I can't even count how many years ago that was, but a very long time. And one of them has a photographic memory of everything. So evocative to just get together and converse, and one remembers something which someone else has forgotten, and it's all very hilarious, you know. So the past is returning to us in this very positive way, which I would want to say, don't discount that, because there's something about memory which is very akin to soul, you know. And I also, in this kind of, it's not a deliberate excavation because it's things just arising from the past, I reconnected in quite a big way with what became known as the war poets. That took me back to my time in school and doing A-level English and studying the war poets, both the American ones and also the British ones. And that's World War I and World War II. And I can remember being absolutely kind of horror-struck by some of the stuff of theirs that I was reading. Their capacity to craft the horror of what was going on into words which go straight to the heart and very, very real. Because many of those poets did see active service in one branch or another of the military. And some of them died as a result of their experiences. It's a whole period of history. And in particular, I really reconnected with the work of W.H. Auden. So he wrote a whole cluster of poetry in the late 1930s, including one of which I'm going to read the final verse shortly. So the title of this poem that I'm going to read from is September the 1st, 1939. Now, that may well ring a bell for some of you watching or some of you here. That was the day on which Poland was invaded, and which some people mark as the beginning of World War II. I mean, there are other dates and so on, because history's a flow. It's not just, you know, a sort of clunky event which then causes another clunky event. It's a whole flow of consequences. And so this poem was written about that time. Auden was by then living in America. He was born in England, but became an American resident. And he certainly has a way of encapsulating in very few words, sometimes very simple words, sometimes with surprising juxtapositions, descriptions of the mood and the valence of the times through very acute little observations of details, which paints such an incredibly vivid picture at a feeling level and as well as the visual details. So I will read the last verse of this poem, but I want to say in a general way that this connection with W.H. Auden, this returning connection, has come within a period when I'm connecting again with poetry in general. So stuff that I've already written a long time ago, stuff I'm writing now, poets whose work I used to absolutely love. For example, I still have my poetry book from my O levels, so that's age 16. That's like 60 years ago. Carried the thing all over the world with me, in rucksacks, in suitcases, lent it to friends and got it back and all that. It's the collected poems of Gerard Manley Hopkins. Oh, absolutely exquisite. There's also a few really good poetry programs on the radio here. And so I feel like the field of poetry feels to me like it's really open at the moment. And I, of course, associate that with Neptune in the sense of being able to generate a field of feeling and experience and so forth, that in its own way can wash clean the agitated mind or the dilemmaed mind. It's a new adjective. We get dilemmaed, which sounds to me like a nautical term. Dilemmaed is when you turn over in the surf or something. So certainly one of the avenues to beauty for me is definitely poetry. Poetry old, poetry new, poetry written by people I know, or by me, or by people I don't know and never will. So in the beginning of this poem, whose final verse I want to read, there's a lot of pained, wry observations about the world at that time, which was very, very dark, very grim, was on the edge of World War II, okay? Lots of references to things. He almost sounds like a wraith walking through New York City, or walking through any big city where people are doing apparently normal things, and you see flashes of beauty and flashes of stuff that's really scary, and the overall mood is like, like that. So reminded me of what we can see all over the place now, here, today. And so here's the verse that I want to read. Defenseless under the night, our world in stupor lies. Yet, dotted everywhere, ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them of eros and of dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame.
Thank you, Melanie. Profound, profound words. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been such a rich, sacred circle. Let me just share a few personal insights or thoughts or reflections about this time before we close the circle. For me, it, as you were saying so beautifully, Melanie, it is like that hermetic principle, as above, so below. As it is within us, so it is outside of us. As it is outside of us, so it is within us. We're just feeling all the intensity of this time. And a companion for me in my journey since probably the last 20 years has been my connection with the planet Venus. I love watching her in the sky. And as above, so below. I think it is so profound as we're moving through this total lunar eclipse. Venus has been in her descent and is merging with the sun to be in her inferior conjunction in her underworld journey. And our understanding of the Venus cycle comes from our earliest known written myth, the myth of Inanna, that came at the time of the shifting from the age of Taurus into the age of Aries. The myth talks about the storminess of that time and the shifts that were happening. And we're there in an incredible time of change and transformation now. So the story can be a guide to us. But I love in the story, and it so resonates with what some of you have said. In the story, Inanna has been queen of heaven and earth in this way of life that's been very, very familiar to her. But now she's in this time of change. And Inanna hears the call of the great below. She hears the call of the great below and knows that she needs to go on this deep journey into the underworld to reclaim lost parts of herself and in an effort to reconnect and heal her relationship with her sister Ereshkigal, who they've been in a ruptured relationship, a time of division and separation. So she sets forth. And what I love is before she goes out on her journey, she calls her friend Ninchabar to join with her and to be a companion with her in the journey. And she says to Ninchabar, if I go into the underworld and I don't return, get me help. And I think that's such a profound message for us in this time of turbulence and change. And we're all feeling that we're going through this descent to go through this transformation to return in a different way. We need to know there's someone holding the thread who's going to watch out for us, love us, care about us. And part of what's profound in Inanna's journey, and I'll just give you the brief version of it, but she goes through this descent into the underworld where she's asked to let go of all those ways in which she's identified herself. We're being in this time of change stripped of all those patterns that were familiar to us, that defined who we are, that gave us a sense of stability and security. We're being asked to let it all go. She's in this underworld journey and goes to try to reconnect with her lost sister. And many of us are dealing with a lot of issues in relationship right now because we're all in this time of transformation. I think it's significant in the story, Ereshkigal doesn't greet her lost sister, who's been queen of heaven while she's been in the underworld, with open arms. She reacts with rage. And it leads to Inanna's death. And I think it's a story about how in this time, we are finding that some of us are in different ways of being, and we have to honor that we're each in our own journey. We're each where we are meant to be. So Inanna isn't able to heal that relationship, though she tried and she longed to. And many times we can't heal relationships if both people aren't willing to be in that journey, in that process. But Inanna's still on her own healing journey. She's there in the underworld and going through her own death and resurrection process. But meanwhile, Ninshabar goes and gets help and calls on Enki, the god of wisdom, who knows how to move between the worlds, to send these earth creatures of food and water and restoration to revive Inanna, to help her come back and return to the upper world. And in this profound time of death, rebirth, we're feeling on the planet, we're feeling in our own experiences. Enki is Saturn, the god of the sweet waters who knows how to move between the worlds. Saturn's in Pisces right now, saying, I'm the shaman. I'm sending you wisdom. I'm sending you guidance. I'm there for you. And as we come to the end of March, the end of the Kali Yuga, this time of death, rebirth, how amazing is it that Venus will return March 31st as a morning star rising in the sign of Pisces. Compassion, love, remembrance of our oneness. She's showing us the way and guiding us to hold ourselves with gentleness as we're in this time of transformation. Many of us feeling that underworld experience of feeling aspects of ourselves being burned away, in order for us to arise anew in a new way of being, coming from our hearts with higher consciousness. Thank you, Venus. Blessed be. Thank you all for this profound time, and thank you to this community of all of you listening who are holding heart connections with all of us to support each other like Ninshabars in this journey of profound transformation and transmutation. Thank you. Love and blessings to all of you and to all of you in this circle. And let's take a moment to thank the energies of the medicine wheel for holding us in sacred space. We give thanks to the earth and sky, the energies of the center of the earth, our galactic center. We give thanks to all the energies of the directions, holding the energies of the earth and sky to hold us in wholeness. We give thanks to the energies of the south, the west, the north, and the east. We give thanks to all our spirit guides and helpers. We give thanks for each other as we step out of sacred space, but continue to feel our heart connections with and for each other as we move through this profound time of transformation. Blessed be.
Much love to all.